Thank you, Joe. Well, Sheldon Silver is expected to step down today as leader of the New York State Assembly. This is after 21 years following his arrest on federal corruption charges. WENY's Samantha Potter sat down with WENY political analyst Jim Twombly to break down the fall of Silver.
I'm joined here today with the Elmira College professor and WENY political analyst Dr. Jim Twombly to talk about Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver stepping down today. I guess we'll just jump right into, what is he being in trouble for?
Well, the Speaker is in trouble for a number of things. Most of it is skimming money, feathering his own nest. I mean, the one charge that I'm aware of is that he had a research doctor to whom he was funneling state grant money, and that doctor in turn would then take that money to do his research, but would find mesothelioma victims and refer them to a particular law firm that would then in turn pay Sheldon Silver a finder's fee. This and other activities netted him about $4 million over and above his salary as Speaker. This is part of a whole milieu of corruption in Albany. Speaker is so far the biggest catch in this kind of corruption. Of course, we had the governor a few years ago resign, Eliot Spitzer, over a personal scandal, but this is more of the insidious nature of money in politics that permeates throughout Albany.
Mm-hmm. So now we know he's stepping down. What happens now?
Well, the Democrats have to decide when they're taking the vote for Speaker. That will either be sometime today or on February 10th. They're debating that as we speak. If they wait till February 10th, Assemblyman Joe Morelli, the majority leader, will become the Speaker pro tem, or the acting Speaker. And then on February 10th, they will have a vote to elect a new Speaker. The leading candidate at the moment is Assemblyman Joe Morelli from the Rochester area.
In your opinion, who do you think is a better fit?
Well, I mean, obviously, anybody coming from New York City has a distinct advantage with the overwhelming majority of the Assembly Democrats coming from the New York metropolitan area. Morelli would be nice for upstaters in that it would be the first upstate Speaker in 40 years, and it would set a nice new precedent. But the political reality of it is the Democratic members of the Assembly come primarily from New York City. That's where the votes are. That's who's going to be the Speaker.
Happen, yeah. So now, Sheldon Silver isn't the first case of corruption we've been hearing lately. Can you touch a little bit, what else is going on there?
Well, this is like a big ball of yarn with lots of little loose ends. Pull at any one of them and the whole ball of yarn can come undone. We've got the possibility that Dean Skelos, the Republican leader in the state Senate, is the next target of Preet Bharara's investigation. And it's also possible that the governor himself may be an eventual target of the investigation. There is the whole question of the timing of his shutting down the Moreland Commission investigation. Rumors are that perhaps he was shutting it down to protect Sheldon Silver, because it was when they were turning to Silver that he said, nope, that's it, we're going to stop the investigation. So if that's the case, and there are other rumors about things that might have been taking place in the Attorney General's office when Cuomo was the Attorney General, he might be subject to an investigation for obstruction of justice. There are all sorts of other connections to other politicians across the state. This could get real nasty. New York State politics, as we know it, could fall apart.
Mm-hmm. So, in your opinion, Cuomo should be a little bit nervous now.
Anybody in a position of power in Albany should be nervous, because if anybody knows where all the bodies are buried, it's Sheldon Silver. And when I last read what the charges are against him and what the possible sentences were, I think he's facing something like 100 years in prison if convicted on all the charges. If you're facing that kind of sentence as a 70-year-old individual, you're going to cut a deal. And for other people in Albany, they've got to try to figure out what kind of deal is he cutting and what does he have on them in order to cut that deal with.
Now, speaking New York State voters, do they have a right to be upset by this?
Yes and no. Those who turn out to vote in state elections regularly, yes, they have a right to be upset. Those who sit on their hands and do nothing, you didn't vote for these people, you didn't vote to oust these people when you had a chance, or to participate in your own party's primary to get better candidates. So it's really, voters have, in one sense, themselves to blame, but that doesn't excuse the behavior of elected officials who are holding a public trust.
Mm-hmm. And now, do you think that with all this going on that this calls for some sort of reform for New York State government?
Oh yeah, I think this is, especially as that ball of yarn unravels. I think we need to see stricter ethics laws in New York and a really tough ethics commission that can do this job, so that we don't have the embarrassment in the state of New York of a U.S. prosecutor taking over a case that the state should have taken care of on its own.
So, do you think that this is going to happen soon? Somebody's going to jump on this, or are we going to be dealing with the corruption cases for a while?
Every time something like this happens in New York politics, people scream reform, 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 and there's a bit of a bandwagon effect that lasts for a little while in the media, but then enthusiasm for it seems to go away and nothing happens. Maybe this time it'll stick, especially if this investigation goes much farther and we see more and more high-level elected officials, Democrats and Republicans, falling victim to Preet Bharara's investigation.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Twombly. Is there anything else you wanted to, touch light on? Or?
I think we've covered it all.
All right. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.